A strong wind blew through my mane as I felt raindrops collide against my skin. The sky visible from the roof of the weather factory was only an overcast of black and gray clouds, along with lightning strikes. A thought of pure horror plagued my mind as I realized what would follow the storm. A rainbow composed of innocent Pegasi that had died through the Pegasus device would form in the place of the storm. The thought made my stomach turn as I admired my surroundings. The roof was long, wide, and open, with one lone entrance on the far right side of the roof. Surprisingly, the roof wasn't barricaded by any barbed wire or an electric fence. It was completely open. Any factory worker could just jump from this horrible place if they wanted to. They could escape a horrible life of murder and torture. But most of the Pegasi were either too afraid or driven to madness by Rainbow Dash's tactics. They'd be stuck here for the rest of their life, killing innocent Pegasi, driven to where murder was only second nature of them. The rain continued to pound against my skin, so I decided to find some cover. I scouted the area for any sort of cover. Of course, there wasn't a single spot where I could escape the rain. There was only one way I could get out of the rain, and as much as I didn't want to, I knew I had to. I knew I had to do it. I had to return to inside of the factory, the place I had died in, along with Ren and Aurora. The screams of them in their final moments still plagued my mind, especially Orion's. Please, as his ribs were snapped, and he was thrown to the Pegasus device like a piece of trash. Those thoughts had caused tears to form in my eyes, as I became surprised I had not felt sadness for years, nor had I ever cried ever since Orion's death. The warm tears rolled down my cheeks as I wiped them away. Was I truly alive again? I decided to check my placing my right hoof against my left side of my chest, only to feel a beating within my chest. My heart was beating again, pumping blood through my body. I was truly alive again. And this time, I would not fail to my average fallen friends. This time, Rainbow Dash would be outsmarted. She was going to win again. She wasn't going to win again, I told myself. However, before I could do anything in my quest of vengeance, I had to find a way to blend in. My best opinion was to disguise myself in a full-body suit. Otherwise, Rainbow Dash would have her entire security squad on me. I couldn't be seen. She could know I was there. I was here. The factory was packed with surveillance cameras, along with the strange darkness that you couldn't see. It was much like the same darkness in the void, but much more powerful. I would have to be absolutely careful and remain hidden like a ghost if one once, I would be able to blend in. I could get to work on sabotaging the empire Rainbow Dash had created. I carefully examined the area for any security cameras. Unfortunately, didn't see any. As I carefully stepped toward the only entrance on the far right side of the roof, my mane and coat were soaked by the time I reached the far right side of the roof. When a green light glowed through my blurred vision due to the rain, the green light glowed just above the entrance, illuminating from a neon sign that read, "Exit." I took a close look at the door, only to quickly realize that it was one of those doors that required a code to open. I wanted to cuss in frustration until I suddenly heard a beeping noise erupt from the other side of the door. I wasted no time and quickly rushed to hide from whoever was on the other side of the entrance. The door opened, revealing a female Pegasus dressed in pitch black suit, with only her tail, wings, and face visible. It was just like the one Rainbow Dash was wearing when the day I was admitted to the Rainbow Factory. Could this have been one of the old traders? The Crystal Mansion? The Crystal Mansion? The Pegasi walked through right out of the edge of the roof, mumbling to herself. She was gripping something in her hoof as she stuck it in her mouth. Ugh! I hate taking these things, but it's the only way to escape the horrible shit I'm forced to do. She spoke to herself. I wondered what to do. Seeing she wasn't even aware of my presence, I peeked my head around the corner, noticing the door still open. The Pegasus was clearly too busy mumbling to herself, so I took the opportunity, immediately trotting from my hiding spot, through the open door into the factory. Inside the factory, a heaviness came over me, and I looked around, fortunately not seeing any other factory workers. I wondered what sort of medication the factory worker had taken. Apparently it was strong enough to make some pony forget things due to her staring, so at the same time, I could care less about what sort of medication the factory worker had taken. I had to focus on my task, which was getting to the bottom floor without being seen. I had to see the shadows. I'd have to stick to the shadows, and I've had to stick to the shadows. Seeing there were cameras everywhere, and the only way I could stay hidden was to stick to the darkness. My current position was a short, narrow hole that led a longer hall just across from the hall. I was alone in a long skywalk to the left. The entire factory was visible through the glass along the sides of the sidewalk, including the Pegasus device, the machine I had died in. It was silent, but it had recently been used due to the visible blood on the grinding blades of the death machine, another sign that it had recently been used. The fact that the Spectra storage tubes were full to the tap. I was lucky no factory workers were visible on the factory floor. That's when it hit me. I had no idea what time it was. For all I knew, the factory workers could have deported to wherever they rested for that day. For the day I wasn't going to take any chances, because I couldn't imagine the cameras being shut off at any time due to all the rebellious Pegasi that had turned against Rainbow Dash. I still had to stick to my plan. Not to mention that I had to keep moving because I knew one factory worker was still awake. The most obvious way to go across the sidewalk and hopefully find an elevator. The darkest spots in the sidewalk was the sides of the long walkway. So I just have to trot as fast as my hooves can manage. I took a deep breath, sticking to the left side of the sidewalk with all my energy trotted across the sidewalk. The hall seemed to drag on for miles, when it really was only my mind playing tricks on me. I was afraid. I hated this place, but it was only the place where I could find the mayor I hated most. I couldn't afford to make any mistakes because I had just this chance to take up the factory and Rainbow Dash. After what seemed like forever, I finally reached the end of the sidewalk, where I met another containment door. And another long hallway where at the end of it I could see an elevator. This almost seemed too easy. I had not seen any other factory worker except the one female Pegasus I had encountered. And I had no idea where the hell I was going. For all I knew, I could be walking right into a trap, seeing the blood Pegasus that had been given me this opportunity had met his end through a setup trap. Rainbow Dash knew of his plans long before he planned to do so. I couldn't underestimate Rainbow Dash. Her act as tomboyish Pegasus that represented loyalty made her seem like she didn't even have the qualifications of her true self. No pony would have ever guessed to have been clever and cunning. Just goes to show that you will never truly know some pony until you've seen their true colors. Rainbow Dash was a murderous Pegasus. Oh, in the overmare of the factory of nightmares, the fact that I had admired Rainbow Dash all my life made me want to vomit. I had shook my head as I wondered what to do next. My best bet was the elevator, so I wasted no time, stuck to the darkest areas, and trotted down the long hall. Once I reached the end of the hall, I examined the elevator quickly, noticing that it had a hoof scanner, along with the eye scanner. "Shit!" I exclaimed. "Now what?" Suddenly I heard hoof steps from down the hall, immediately causing my heart to drop. I had to hide fast. As the steps got closer, I decided to hide in a dark corner and hope that it wouldn't be spotted by the factory worker. I placed my hoof over her mouth, silencing my breathing as a female worker came into view, approaching the elevator. And any idea came to be through my fear, noticing that once again the worker didn't notice my presence. With all my bravery, I jumped from my hiding spot, grabbed the Pegasus, put my hoof over her mouth, thrusting her violently in my grip. "Listen up and listen good," I commanded her. "If you don't shut up, I'm going to snap your neck." She continued to struggle in my grip, so to give the worker a sign that I wasn't kidding, I violently smacked her in the face. Into the elevator door, causing her to cooperate as I pulled her back into my grip. "Refuse again, and I'll do worse," I threatened. "Now here's how it's going to go. You are going to get me into that elevator, take me to the bottom floor, and lastly, take me where they store the full bodysuits." The worker didn't struggle anymore and nodded her head instead. I quickly forced her in front of the eye and hoof scanners as she cooperated, placing her hoof on the hoof scanner and her eyes against the eye scanner. A series of beeping noises, along with a female tone violence voice, erupted from the two scanners. "Access granted," spoke the scanner, following the elevator doors opening. The inside of the elevator was dimly lit, making my situation much easier, seeing I had to stick to the darkness if I planned to make any sort of progress. In this demented factory, I continued to hold the Pegasus tight in my grip as I navigated backwards into the compact elevator. "Take us to the bottom floor," I commanded, thrusting the factory worker toward the keyboard. She didn't fight me and just did as I commanded. After pressing a few buttons, the elevator door closed, proceeding to the factory floor. Along the way down, the factory worker turned her head to me, freezing her muzzle in my grip. "Kill me," she said to me. Her words surprised me. I had no idea how to even respond to something like that. Was I supposed to say yes? Was she trying to trick me? Or was she being serious? Judging from what she said on the roof, I believe that she was being serious. She had grown tired of this life of murder and wanted out of the Rainbow Factory forever. She was my only guidance through, so I decided to make a proposition with her. "Okay, I'll free you from this place, but first you have to do something for me," I started. "What's your proposition?" she asked me. "You know your way around the factory, so here's the deal. Give me a map, keep me out of Rainbow Dash's sight," I proposed. "If you can't get me to Rainbow Dash, I'll free you from this helping factory." The worker raised an eyebrow at me, following an unsettling look on her face. Best way to get Rainbow Dash is to gain her trust," started the Pegasus. "It's not easy to gain her trust, though. You'll have to do some wicked shit to get on Dash's good side. Only few Pegasus have been able to do it, and they've done to gain her trust has been left unsaid." Without a doubt, I knew that the worker wasn't kidding the slightest. Rainbow Dash was ruthless and I could only imagine the unspeakable things required to gain her trust. But I planned to gain Rainbow Dash's trust using stealth and manipulation. I had been closer to Rainbow Dash than any pony had ever been. I knew things about her others didn't. Things that could ruin her, and scare her. Trust me, I can gain her trust, but I need time to do it, I started. I don't know what you are planning, but I can buy you time, she replied. Can you loosen your grip though? It kind of hurts. Despite what she had started, I wasn't going to loosen my grip so easily. I knew just how manipulative these workers were, and they would play the "I'm just an innocent victim, so trust me" game. I'll release you, but first, dispose of any lethal weapon you have on you, I claimed. I know you have a taser gun, a pepper spray as defense against any victims who try to escape. Dispose of them, and I'll release you. She didn't rebel and disposed of all of the lethal weapons she carried on her belt, dropping them to the floor of the elevator. She had disposed of a taser gun, a taser, handgun, pepper spray, knife, and nightstick. As the elevator came to a stop on the bottom floor, I carefully released her from my grip. As the elevator doors opened, just outside the doors, I saw the base of the Pegasus device. It was supported by 4 steel bars holding it in place. The sight of the machine caused the memories of the final moments in the factory to flash before my eyes as I started to stare at the steel wall next to the machine with rusty chains hanging from the rafters. The chains that my hooves had been raised and restrained in, as well as I was lifted and dropped into the grinding blades of the death machine. Those memories caused my entire body to quiver as I saw the metal platform to the side of the death machine, the place where Rainbow Dash had stood mocking me, Orion, and Aurora. The machine was quiet now, but it wouldn't be long before it would erupt back to life, hungry for more innocent Pegasi who had failed the flying exam. I did notice something different about the area, though. A giant projector screen was posted just above the control room for the Pegasus device. Suddenly, Crystal's words echoed in my mind. The only thing that makes a Pegasus was taken from me and tossed aside like garbage and broadcasted for every pony to see. I was humiliated. That must have been what she meant by the forced wing removal was broadcasted. What a horrid thing for any Pegasi to see. The thought of being forced to witness a Pegasi being removed of their only identification of being a Pegasus made my stomach turn, nearly causing me to vomit. I remained strong as we continued to navigate along the factory floor toward another room. What's in there? I asked. It's a locker room for the female factory workers. I can get you a full body suit from an old worker's locker, she said. Don't they still work here? I asked. She turned to me, giving me that look that answered my question. Many workers die in the factory accidents, especially workers who have to clean the Pegasus device blades, she confirmed. Once you get stuck on that machine, it's impossible to escape. Or Rainbow Dash does it on purpose, or just for extra spectra, I claimed. Knowing that I was correct. Yeah, that too, she agreed, placing her hoof on the hoof scanner. Once her access was granted, we entered a long, narrow room with rows of lockers on both sides of the room. The workers switched on the lights, closing the door behind her. Rainbow Dash doubled the security of the factory ever since an escape attempt by one of the creators. She started. That's why there's a scanner on every door, so no pony can just simply escape. I immediately knew that the worker was talking about the Pegasus that I had met in the void. He was an orchard, but was outsmarted by Rainbow Dash. Did you notice orchestrator? I asked. Sorta. He was one of more quiet orchestrators. But we did work in the same department, she replied. Such a shame that he had to die here. I really wish the guy could have escaped, but Dash knew his plans before he could even had a chance. He even had a chance. I took his place as Dash's second in command, and ever since it's been the same old story. Pegasus, come to the factory. We give them the same speech. Kill the weakest one, and so on. I've wanted out of this place ever since my first kill, but I've been too scared to do anything. Dash watches all the workers like a hawk, and if anything seems out of place, she acts immediately. I once thought about starting a rebellion with the other Orchiders, but I quickly figured out that that's like asking for death on a silver platter. This place changes you, and not in a good way. Some workers have committed suicide to escape before they were driven to madness. The eldest worker came here with a heart of gold. At first refused to kill any pony, but after one kill along with the effects of the factory, they became a ruthless killer, driven to madness. And who was that? I asked. Dash, she confirmed. One kill is all it took to persuade Rainbow Dash to make her role here in the factory. My blood ran cold. How long had Rainbow Dash truly been here? How many other overmayors had there been in the factory? Was Rainbow Dash the only one? My thoughts were erupted by the sound of Locker's door opening as the worker pulled out a full bodysuit. It was coated with dry blood along the same splats of spectra from the tubes around the chest area. Here, put this on, she commanded, tossing the suit at me. I grabbed the suit and quickly slipped on the suit. It was clear that the suit was used for handling any toxic chemicals and working around any toxic gases. My guess was the factory worker, handled Spectra and organized it. Make sure to blend in with the rest of the workers, said the Pegasus. If you get caught, I can't help you. Another thing, if any other workers ask for assistance, it's best you just do as they say, despite what you are forced to do. Very well, but remember our agreement. I started. Find a map and get it to me. I'll work on getting on Rainbow Dash's good side, but not the way other Pegasus had to. I'll get one, she started. I nodded my head as another thought came to me. By the way, what time is it? I asked. If you're wondering if the factory is shut down, fortunately for you, it is, she confirmed. The shift just barely ended, but that doesn't mean we're safe. We need to get out of sight. So I guess I'll take you to my custom room that Dash gave me. Once she gained my trust, hard to believe that she'd do something so kind, I started. By the way, I never caught your name, she asked me. I panicked I tried to think of a fake name. Seeing I gave her my real name, she'd recognize it immediately. Though through my struggling, I remembered what Crystal had said about the unnamed Pegasus I had spoke to. He had forgotten his name. I forgot mine long ago, I started, hoping that the worker would buy my bluff. She raised an eyebrow, showing that she didn't believe me. Don't give me that bullshit, she claimed. Claimed in an annoyed tone. You assaulted me out of nowhere, so somehow got into the factory. Tell the truth and don't lie. I knew I couldn't lie again, so I came up with a fake name, close to my real one. Fine, it's Scoots, I replied. The Pegasus gave me a strange look, placing her hoof to her chin. Strange. Dash used to mention some pony she used to call Scoots for short, she claimed. I cussed in my mind, knowing it wasn't getting anywhere with her. I was in the place I had died originally, about to die, unless I found some way to persuade this worker. Otherwise, luckily, I managed to do so. That's better, started the worker. I forgot my name long ago, so I just referred to myself as absentia. I recognized the word absentia immediately. It matched any pony who had lost their identity perfectly. The word absentia is a reference to being forgotten, left behind, absent from where some pony originated. Every pony's name in the factory had gone absent long ago through their countless years of killing innocent Pegasi. A sad thought that I could fathom. Let's get out of here before we get caught by security, started Absentia. I agree. Let's go, I replied. As we turned to leave, I had no idea what to think. I had just entered a trip with Absentia. Had I just made a mistake by making a deal with the factory worker? All I knew was that I wasn't safe in any way. If anything, I needed to watch my back, and I was in the Rainbow Factory, where fears and horrors come true. Not a single soul gets through. I was in hell. Nowhere was safe.